Ms. Jairell, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. Go ahead and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is true and accurate?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Mr. Jorde.
Please state your name.
Brenda Jairell.
And Ms. Jairell, you are a landowner of land in Dickinson County, and specifically 3 individual parcels being targeted by the proposed hazardous summit pipeline. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. Actually, my parents. So I am representing Robert Sote, who's my father. Health-wise, he's not able to attend or testify. So yes, that is our family farm.
Okay. And you personally, however, did pre-file testimony, which is written question and answers, correct?
Yes.
And do you have any updates? Well, let me start over. Do you have any corrections or material changes to that testimony that's necessary for us to know about?
No.
And do you have any updates of factual matters that have occurred since the submission of that testimony that are important for us to know?
No.
If we were to ask you all of the same questions in your pre-file testimony and walk through that, would your answers here today be substantially similar?
Yes, they would.
All right. I would offer exhibits 139 through 143, which are Ms. Jairell's pre-file testimony and attachments.
Objections?
And just to be clear, I don't know that it changes the numbering at all, but there were 2 versions filed, one on July 20th and a first amended on July 21st. I just want to make clear that what's getting admitted is I assume we want the first amended, the later filed.
That's correct, the first amended.
No objections.
And what's the date on that one?
July 21st.
July 21st.
Okay, thank you. The board will admit.
Thank you. All right, ma'am, with that, I'm going to turn you over for other folks to ask questions.
Mr. Taylor?
Thank you. I'm having trouble getting the written testimony up on my screen, but I have some notes, so I think I can go ahead. I'm Wally Taylor. I represent the Sierra Club. In the written testimony that you filed, you said that the pipeline would reduce the amount of ground that you can use, but you can still farm over that ground, can't you?
Well, yes, we would be able to, but when you look at construction or the time it takes them to put this pipeline in, would it be during our planting time? Would it be during harvest? The other issue we have is we run cattle on this farm 5 to 6 months out of the year. We need that ground for them to feed on too. So, yes, I feel it would reduce what we're able to do, and it would reduce our overall yield if they come in after planting time or during harvest.
So when you say the cattle feed on the land, do you mean there's pasture there, or that the cattle feed on the stubble after harvest?
Yes, the cattle are there roughly from November to probably April, and they feed on the rubble. That's where we calve our cattle, so they're there about 5 to 6 months.
Have you talked to Summit or any Summit agent about the time of year that they would be doing the construction in order to avoid any impact on your cattle operation?
They have not given us, I have not personally, my father is the one that has had any conversation with them, but there is no timeline when they would be there. I guess along with that, the concern about when they surveyed, at one point in time, a surveyor was on our property with a dog, and our cattle were on that land at the time. We did not give them permission to survey nor to bring a dog onto our property. So I'm not sure that when the pipeline goes through, it's going to affect whether it's harvest, whether it's planting, or the cattle are there.
But you could farm over the ground after the pipeline is installed, could you not?
We could. A couple of concerns with that, and as other farmers have indicated, the quality of the soil will be questionable. Part of what they're looking to come through is low ground, which at one point in time, before my grandfather purchased this farm, was a lake. It was underwater. So it leaves behind a lot of peat ground, which we have extensive tiling on. We'll be able to farm over that. But again, with that pipeline under there, the settling of the ground, and again, just the quality of what soil and what we can produce is questionable.
Are you claiming that peat soil creates some sort of special problem?
Well, when you've got that much moisture there, and depending on the type of year, if you've got the moisture and how it freezes in the winter, just research I've done, it's not the best place for a pipeline to run through. So yeah, it would, I think it would probably be an issue. And the fact again, that is, we have done extensive tiling there, and we have tiling scheduled in the next 2 years to go there again. So I think it would be a problem.
Is that additional tile or repairing or upgrading existing tile that you have planned?
No, it would be additional tile.
You mentioned in your pre-filed testimony concerns about the tile. Are you aware that Summit has said that they're going to put their pipeline at least 2 feet below the tile so there'd be no damage to the tile?
Well, yes, that's what they've indicated, but they've got to be able to put the pipeline in first. And when you have extensive tiling running through there, how do they put a pipeline in and not do damage? And if they do damage to the existing pipelines or the irrigation that we have there, who's going to fix that? Who's going to repair that?
Have you talked to anybody from Summit, or any of your family members talked to anybody from Summit about your concerns about the tile, and having Summit explain how they intend to install the pipeline without damaging the tile?
I have not. I know on a couple of occasions an agent has stopped at the house and talked to my father, but we are totally against this, and we have asked them to leave. So no, they have not explained any of that.
Okay, can we bring the KMZ file up, please? Okay. Does that look like your property?
Yes.
I think you said earlier that, and you also said in your testimony, I believe, that the pipeline would adversely impact, I think it was like 2/3 or 3/4 of the area of your land. Why do you say that?
Because we have, so I'm trying to get my directions here. In the section to the west of the house there, which would be the northwest section, that's where most of the tiling is. But the other two sections to the south, there's tiling through there as well. And that's tiling that my grandfather had done, and then tiling that my parents had done when they first started taking over the farm. So this proposed pipeline route will have an impact on tiling in all three sections.
For the record, the three sections make kind of an L shape, is that correct?
Yes.
And on the upper portion of the L, it looks like there's some buildings to the east and some other buildings to the west, sort of along that east-west road. Are those occupied structures?
So the one is our house. The buildings that you see to the east of that would be grain bins, a storage, like the cattle barn. The buildings to the west, the next section over, yes, that is the neighbors, and they are occupied.
Okay, and the buildings you described first to the east of the east boundary of your property, that's where you live?
Yes, that's where my
Okay.
parents live.
And about how far would that be from the pipeline, do you know?
The house would be about 750 feet from their proposed pipeline. Our cattle lot and where the cattle water is would be 500 feet.
And also in your pre-filed testimony, you claimed that the water wells on the property would be impacted by the pipeline. Why do you say that?
Well, if this proposed pipeline goes through, they're talking about a lot of water that is needed to push this through. We've been in a drought, not just in Iowa, but the Midwest has been in a drought for several years. We have 2 wells on our property. The one well our house depends on, that our house, everything is run from the well.
Is that well up by the house somewhere?
Yes, yes. And it also helps run one of the cattle waters that feeds the livestock. In the past couple of years, rural water has an easement through. So one of the cattle waters is fed through the rural water system. But when we're in a drought like this, I live there in the summers to help out on the farm. And my mom is always saying, don't do too much laundry. Be careful how long you're in the shower, because we worry about the amount of water that's available in the well for the house. So if this pipeline goes through, then my question would be, where's the water coming from to help feed that? And it is truly going to have an impact on the water supply across the state. It's not just our farm, but the amount of water they're wanting is going to make an impact for all of us in Iowa. So yeah, we're very concerned about the drought and that we depend on that well, and will the water supply be there?
Are there any ethanol plants near your property there?
Yes, in Superior, there is an ethanol plant, and I want to say it's maybe 5 miles from our farm.
And are you aware that the ethanol plant, or at least the capture equipment on the ethanol plant, would need a lot of water in order to operate?
Yes, I'm very aware of that. And when I say that, it will have a huge impact, not just on landowners, but you look at neighboring towns around there. Spirit Lake is a huge tourist destination, and I look at the level that the lakes have dropped just because of the drought. Tourism is a huge, for the economy of Iowa. So yes, that ethanol plant's going to pull water from several locations and impact several communities around there.
Your pre-filed testimony also indicated that the pipeline would stop your daughter from building a house on the property. What plans does she have to build a house?
Well, that would be me because I currently live in Wyoming. I'm a school teacher. And so like I said, I spend my summers there and I go back on vacations, holidays to help out. But my plan was to retire and build a house on the one section. If this pipeline goes through, then we are restricted in what we can do. And so I'm probably not going to be able to build a house there. I would have to look elsewhere, I guess.
And what kind of time period are we talking about that you might want to build a house there?
I would hope I could retire within 3 years.
Where would the closest emergency response personnel be if there were a rupture in the pipeline?
Are you are you talking hazmat? Are you talking just fire?
The initial emergency personnel who would come?
Okay, so the closest would be either Spirit Lake, Esterville, or Jackson, Minnesota, which we kind of sit in the center of those, and they would all be within 10 to 12 miles.
And you know if they're prepared to respond to a CO2 rupture?
I can't imagine they are. No, I'm not aware, but I would guess that would take some specialized training.
Have you talked to any Summit land agents about alternate routes or the easement itself?
Originally, that was something that was discussed. I know when I was there 2 summers ago, neighbors had talked about an alternate route. To be honest, I don't know that an alternate route is even acceptable, because no matter what route this pipeline goes through, it is going to have a huge impact, not just on landowners, but neighboring communities. So an alternate route, I would hope there was a place they could put it that didn't go through our property, but then I wouldn't wish that on my neighbor either.
Do you know if any of the neighbors there have signed easements?
I know of a couple that have, yes.
The ones adjacent to your property or not?
No, they are not.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Ms. Greenhagen?
Thank you, Your Honor. Hi, Ms. Jairell. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. My name is Chris Grunigan, and I'm representing the Iowa Farm Bureau, and I just have a few questions here about your property. You mentioned that you have quite a bit of tile here, and has anything been designated as a wetland?
No, like I said, before my grandparents bought the property, the northwest section was underwater. It was like a lake, and that was before my grandparents bought it. And we've had the farm for 77 years. But no, it is not considered a wetland today.
So in the southeast quadrant there, where there's a kind of a oval brown spot in the field,
Yes.
is that a place where water collects or ponds?
No, it's one of the it's one of the higher elevated pieces of the land, and it is a grass, a patch of grass.
Okay. So is that in CRP or anything, or it's just a...
No, No, it is not.
Okay, so it's just an area that's not being farmed.
Yes.
Okay. Could the staff bring up her attachment 23, which is on page 245? I wanted to take a look here at some of your exhibits, just because I had some questions about them. And we'll first look at the one with the tile map on it. Great, thank you very much. Okay. So is this showing the eastern two parcels? If you're looking at the farmstead and going south?
Yes, yeah, it shows both part of the eastern and then that would be the western section.
Or the western section?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And is this all the current tile that is there in the property?
Yes, I obtained that map this summer when I was back there, so that should be current.
Okay. Do you know approximately how deep this tile is buried?
Let's see. Some of the older tile, my father said would be probably 5 feet. The newer tile runs 3 to 4 feet.
Thank you. And then you mentioned you had some plans this fall to put in some new tile.
We're looking to tile on our other farm this year, but within the next 2 years, yes, we will do more tiling here.
Can you identify the location of where that tile is going to be placed?
It would be in the, I gotta readjust my map thinking here. It would be in the northwest portion. Yes, down in there.
Where there's already some tile?
Yes, there is tile there, but more tile will be added to that.
Okay. So would it be parallel to the existing, 4-inch or 5-inch tile?
That I don't know for sure.
Okay. And so does that intersect with the proposed pipeline route? Or is that west of the pipeline route?
I want to say it would be somewhat right. It may interfere with the proposed pipeline. There's also a county tile that runs through there, and I know that is a concern as well as the proximity of that county tile.
Do you know where that, I know you have another map, but this one might be a little bit easier to locate it. Can you identify where that is on this map?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, if I could drive down that county road, I would know, but it's almost where your pointer is. I mean, it's right down in that section there is where that county tile comes out.
Does it go north of the road as well?
Yes.
Would you know approximately where it crosses the road?
Well, I would say just about where right about where the red line is.
Okay. And would it continue at kind of a similar angle to that 6-inch tile, do you think?
I'm not real sure on that piece.
Okay. Let's go ahead and page down 2 more pages. And I'm not sure if this is more of a topographical map. This was identified in your testimony as identifying the county tile. Is that on this map? Or what? If not, what does this map show?
This map, I think, just shows here.
Looks like there's a notation in the bottom right-hand corner that says drainage district number 21.
Okay, so that shows, yes, and where it says that number 21, that would be again, land that we have acquired within the last probably, I don't know, 8 years. And that would be some of the newer tiling.
So does this show county tile or your private tile?
I want to say this shows private tile. To be honest, I'm not sure. This was the one map that kind of got me.
Okay, so you're not quite sure what this map shows.
I'm not. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And then go ahead and go to the next page. Is this just a layout of the farmstead?
Yes,
Is that
it
what that is?
is. One of the things, and this shows mainly the house, where the well is. I will say, the corn crib and the barn no longer exist. Unfortunately, a storm came through and we lost those. And we have since then put up a metal building for cattle. So that has taken that place of the corn crib and the barn.
Thank you. And then go ahead and page down to the next page. What does this map show? I wasn't quite sure what this was.
I wonder if that one shows the county tile that comes through.
Is that black line the county tile, do you think?
That's what I'm wondering, if that might be the county tile.
Okay. And is the black square there to the right of the county tile and south of 120th Street, would that be your farmstead then?
Actually, ours would be, south of, the one where you're at is a neighbor. So we are, I just want to point at my screen, sorry.
Go south, go the square below 120th Street.
Yes, right there, that's our house, yes.
All right.
So this must show the county tile based on our location and then the neighbor to the west of us, yes.
So given the proposed pipeline route, does it, in your estimation, would that route cross this county tile?
I don't know that it would cross the county tile because I think the county had said no, they could not cross it.
Okay. All right. Then could you go to page 253? I have a question about this letter. This is a letter regarding insurance, and it's addressed to Jamie Engel. Is that
So
a relative, or who is that?
no. So she would be like the agent that works for Dixon County Mutual. She is the one that my father and I met with this summer. One of the things that we were wondering about was, liability and would our insurance cover us? And so that is the gal that I assume she's just an insurance agent for this company. And this is what she had sent back to us.
And so this is a letter sent from your dad to your agent?
Yes, my dad and I sent that to her. And then her response, is it on the bottom of yours?
And so that's her response to your letter at the bottom there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the clarification. That's all the questions I have.
Let me see here. Ms. Hike?
Hello, Ms. Terrell. I'm Chris Hike. I'm a landowner. Just a couple questions. I see with the house being, I believe you said 750 feet from the pipeline. Did Summit provide you with any paperwork discussing any warnings of risks or safety information about putting the pipeline in on your property?
No, they did not. And anytime they sent certified mail, we had it rejected, we sent it back. The times when the agents did try to come onto the farm and talk to my dad, he told them to leave, that we were not interested. So no, there was nothing as far as correspondence on safety or.
So do you believe Summit has put public safety first through this process?
Absolutely not. If they put public safety first, we wouldn't be fighting this like we are. You work all your life for something, to have your rights taken away, to have no control over the property that you've worked all your life for. And I guess what it's a hazard, but it's not just a hazard to us or to the landowner. It is a hazard to communities, to the wildlife that lives there. And like I said, Spirit Lake is a huge recreational area that is a big income for the state of Iowa. This would impact so many people, and the quality of our land and as a state. I live out west and I see what natural resources we have. You look at alternative options and we've got wind farms and we have methane fields and we have oil and we have coal mines. No matter how they propose to bring this pipeline through, it will leave a scar. It is not to have an impact in any positive way, not safety-wise or financially for the state of Iowa.
Do you believe this project is a public necessity or benefit for the public?
Absolutely not. It is not an alternative solution to, the president's push to be, what do I want to say? That we would be more efficient and to get rid of all the emissions and stuff. The ethanol plants provide a service, but it is not going to benefit. The only people that are going to benefit are the investors and the politicians who are supporting these investors. There's nothing in it for the landowner other than the fact that we have just lost our right to own and operate our property the way we feel and see fit. And when I say that, it isn't to our benefit, but we think about the neighbors and the impact it has on our neighbors and our community as well. So no, it is not.
Thank you.
Ms. Kaufman?
Hi, excuse me. I'm Julie Kaufman, a landowner, and I just wanted to ask about you talked a lot about water management issues and your concerns about the water and also your tiling. And I noticed that in one of Summit's rebuttals by Mr. Ellingson, he claims that Summit has placed a great importance on water management issues. And do you believe that Summit, in your experience, has Summit committed to water management? Have they talked to you about whether or not they will talk to growers and others towards locating the drainage, the tiles along before the construction? Have they talked to you about your tile routes? Or?
Objection, Your Honor.
State your objection.
I don't think there's a foundation for the question or the witness to answer. The witness has said that they have refused all certified mail, that they have told agents to leave their property, that they haven't talked to them since the beginning of the process. So I'm not sure what the basis would be for an opinion in response to that question.
Do you reply?
Okay, I just wondered if they sent something out by mail or anything about the tile lines, or if they tried in any way to find out where her tile lines were before they put it through. But that was my question. Maybe I didn't state it clearly.
Why don't you try stating it clearly?
Did you receive any kind of communication, whether in person or by letter, about your tile lines until you did your pre-file testimony about your tile lines?
No, we did not.
Okay, so would you agree that Summit did not try really hard to find out where your tile lines were?
Objection, Your Honor.
State the objection.
Again, I think the testimony is clear. It's not that Summit didn't try, it's that the landowners consciously chose not to communicate or accept communication from Summit. And as I'm sure Mr. Jorde will point out, that is, their right to do that, but it also means that there's no basis for an answer to the question of what Summit tried or didn't try.
Okay, I will ask a different question, thank you.
Okay.
About water issues. You talk about Spirit Lake and the concerns you have about water, large-scale water management, such as, do you think this project poses serious concerns for protecting Iowa's rivers and aquifers, and especially with regards to if a pipeline would break and water would get into the pipelines, that causes, as we've talked, it's been testified, can cause carbonic acid. Is that a concern for you? A big concern?
Well, yes, it's a big concern. It's like I said, we depend on the well, not just for our home, but for our cattle, which is a huge part of our income and our livelihood. But where our farm sits, it splits the drainage to the west to the east, and to the west, it dumps into to Big Spirit, which is Spirit Lake's watershed. The tourists that are there, that's a huge revenue for the state. Yes, it's a major concern, because at some point in time, if there is a leak or a rupture, it's not just our farm that's going to be affected. It's going to affect hundreds and hundreds of people. So, yes.
So would you agree that Summit places great importance on water management issues?
No, I do not feel they do.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay. Well, before we go to you, Ms. Close, we're just going to take a quick 10-minute break and be right back. So we will come right back to Ms. Colas. So we'll be off record for just a quick, short 10 minutes. Okay, we can go back on the record. Board member Martz is on her way to Clear Lake for a consumer, what? Yep, sorry, Creston, on her way to Creston. Clear Lake was last night for a consumer comment meeting for a rate case, different docket. So with that, Ms. Colas.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jairell. Jean Colas, a landowner. I just have a few questions. You brought up funding in 45Q related to, I think, being legislated or for the purpose of going toward the goal of the presidency toward a more carbon neutral state of affairs, correct?
Yes.
Do you feel this monster was created by lobbyists and such in the Congress?
Objection, Your Honor.
State the objection.
A lack of foundation for this witness's knowledge of how Congress came to adopt a certain policy. And second, how it was adopted doesn't impact, again, this board's responsibility to view or not view. And in fact, arguably the funding source is not within the board's purview.
Ms. Colas.
I'll ask another question. Do you think 45Q, that Summit Carbon Solutions is constructing the pipeline because of the development of 45Qs and the tax benefits?
I'm not sure on that. I think that they have a personal goal, and that is to profit from this. It isn't the state of Iowa, the landowners or surrounding communities that are going to profit from this. So I would say, yes, their main goal, in my opinion, what I've read and heard or articles, is that this is a personal thing for them to profit, not for the state.
Do you feel that it actually sequesters the percentage of CO2 that they're promoting? Is it doing?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Do you believe that the pipeline is a benefit or necessity for Iowans?
No, I do not. Again, like I've said, tourism brings so much to the state. The ethanol plants, if we go towards less carbon emissions, within 10 years, 15 years, the need for that is going to be gone. I mean, it's kind of like your wind farms. We're shutting down pipelines, bringing in oil. The coal mines out here are shutting down. So is this going to benefit Iowa? No, it's a short-term profit for, in my opinion, Summit. It is no benefit to the state of Iowa.
You mentioned windmills. Are you familiar with the difference in the eminent domain or the easement that they attempted to get versus the sunset clauses related to most in windmills that they recognize it's for a certain time only?
Yes, and my understanding is this, that they are seeking is permanent.
Do you feel that the construction of pipeline is worth the risk to human life and animal life?
No, absolutely not. Again, I think about our family, I think about our neighbors, and communities, our livestock, just the stress on them if this were to be constructed. There's no overall benefit to us or to the state. So, no, I do not.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, Board Member Burns.
Thank you. Is it Jairell? Is that how I
Yes.
pronounce it? Okay, thank you. So this Jairell, I think earlier you stated you currently live in Wyoming?
Yes, I do. I'm a school teacher. But like I said, I spend 3 months of my summer on the farm. And then I'm there for holidays. Eventually, my brother is starting to take over the farming. And my plan is to retire there to help him continue the farming.
So are you aware of the carbon dioxide pipelines that currently exist in Wyoming?
Yes.
Do you know how long have they been in existence?
Well, I couldn't tell you exactly how long, but yes, they've been here a long time.
Okay. Thank you. I have no other questions.
Mr. Jorde, redirect. Sorry.
Earlier, you mentioned a distance from a cattle, a feedlot. Is that one that you're planning to construct or an existing one? I'm sorry, I missed that.
That is an existing cattle lot.
All right, the
And
one
it's,
that
I want
approximately.
to say it's 500 feet from the
Yes.
line.
Okay.
Yes, it's already in existence.
Okay, very good. And had Summit had any conversations with you about 500 feet being a problem or an issue or a concern at all to the pipeline?
No.
Okay. Obviously, I take it you don't want it at all, but certainly it would need to be significantly more than 500 feet away from your feedlot, correct?
Yes.
Approximately how many head do you have there at max capacity at any given time?
I would say around 50 to 55 at the most at one time.
Okay, all right, very good. I don't, well, actually I do. On planning the additional tile, if this were to be unfortunately approved and if eminent domain was granted on your land and if this was constructed, would you agree that Summit should be taxed 100% of any additional cost for you to lay tile over, above, across, or around their pipeline if it exists?
Well, that would be financially great if they would. But I don't know that they would agree to that.
Well, of course they won't agree to that unless they're forced to agree, and that's what I'm getting at. If the existence of their pipeline would impact your future development of your property and your ability to farm and raise cattle the way you want, certainly you would say that they should pay for that hardship to you, correct?
Yes, I would think they should.
Right, and that would include any lift stations or anything necessary to make sure the flow of water goes over the pipelines if necessary and drains properly.
Yes, and it's my understanding that there is a lift station that is supposed to be just across the county road as it leaves our property.
Okay.
So,
All right. I don't have any more questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Jairell. You were dismissed. We appreciate it.